everyone, and welcome to The Lobby, GameSpot's weekly hangout here at 2 p.m. Pacific, here in sunny San Francisco, California. It's 5 o'clock somewhere, especially if you're on the East Coast. Pete Brown, what's up?
Hey, man.
How you doing?
I'm fine.
Yeah.
How you doing?
I'm all right.
Is it sunny today? I feel like that was
No, it is sunny.
disingenuous,
It's
yeah.
been a weird 2 sunny days in San Francisco.
Yeah.
For like people who aren't local or don't know, it's kind of a cloudy city. Rob, you're local.
Sure am.
Yeah, you've been here how many years? Like 36?
Forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you 40?
What?
How old are you?
Oh, I turned 29 in like a couple weeks, actually.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I remember that. Your October birthday. It's going well. Anyway, yeah. We got a lot on the docket. We kind of have another long show. Got a lot to fit in. A lot of releases. A lot of kind of just like random things we want to talk about in relation to Death Stranding and Kojima-ish stuff. But first, we want to start with Star Wars Battlefront, oddly enough. We haven't really done much on it since like it released last year, or around that time at least. And you've kind of been, you and Aaron maybe have been one of the two of the people in the office, Rob, that kind of have been coming back to it with the DLC.
Yeah, each time around, just kind of touching on what's new, what's changed. This time around, I go back and forth with Battlefront. We've all played it, I'm sure. Like, you know, as a Star Wars fan, like you have these awe moments and you appreciate the visuals and the sound effects and all that stuff. And, you know, it's all done really well. But then you just start getting frustrated along the way. And that's where I'm kind of at with this DLC. But it's been pretty cool. I think it's a neat little package so far.
Does it just give you more of those sort of like awe moments or like the nostalgia stuff? I mean, is that kind of what this game, that sounds like that's pretty much all it can rely upon. I haven't played any of the DLC, but I imagine like getting more of that is probably...
Yeah, and that's where, it's exactly that. And that's where the run I go with this stuff, it kind of ends, where it's like, I feel like I've seen all the spectacle of it, and then it kind of just dries out because the gameplay is just not that great. I mean, you know, I'm sure there's a fan base who appreciate it, and clearly because there are a lot of people who are pretty good at that game. But yeah, this time around it's Death Star. So there's like 3 game modes or maps, so to speak, and they all kind of transition into each other. Mm-hmm. The first being the rebels attack a Star Destroyer outside of the Death Star. And then the next is on the Death Star, the rebels attack, they're trying to get to it. Like it's like a, what's the game mode? It's basically a moving spawn point where the rebels are trying to get R2-D2 off the Death Star and onto this rebel transport because he has the Death Star plans. So like the movie. And then the next is just the Death Star trench run. And I feel mixed on each one of those. Mm-hmm. They also added new heroes. There's always 2 in each one for each side, Imperial Rebel. This one is Bosk, the bounty hunter. Mm-hmm.
Wait, do you know what alien race he is? I always forget.
I forget. I don't know.
He's not like, because Greedo is what, a Rhodesian? Rhodian. Sorry. Rhodesian's yeah.
And then the other one being Chewbacca himself, which I haven't been able to play yet. But they have some pretty, you know, they always have interesting kind of perks and abilities. Chewbacca has one where he just goes his typical Chewbacca roar, and then surrounding allies near you get beefed up just based on his fantastic
Wookiee
audio. Yeah,
I'm terrible at those, so I'm not even going to try to do it. It looks like Bosk has some sort of thermal vision.
I think you should try to do it.
No. That, I'm never going to top
Not
that.
bad, Rob.
That was more of a Tusken Raider, but
Yeah,
I'll never top that anyway. But okay, so these, I mean, it's the Death Star interior, right? So I would assume, unless there are big hangars you come into, it's kind of claustrophobic, confined, like close quarters. Or
that's why I don't really like the that stage. Just because it's so hard, like you're just constantly dying, or at least I am, and I think everyone is. I mean, it's tough. Yeah, it's really close quarters. It makes you realize that the Death Star with all those steep, no railing like drops, how funny they are with, you know, jetpacks or some of the, like, it's like the hot item in that game. So people were jumping up and then hitting the ceiling and then falling down these things.
just breaking their neck.
Right. It's tough in these corridors, but, you know, it's, again, the spectacle value is really cool. So you'll see, like, what I imagine to be a rendition of the control room where the Death Star has, you know, all those scenes. Another one is, I think it starts off with R2-D2 near the prison area where Leia is. However, you walk down that famous hallway and it just goes... It's not connected to anything. It just actually literally just goes off boundaries. So
yeah.
When I first started off, I saw about 8 guys running down there and then all turning back because there's nothing... You know, there's nothing to go towards.
To get to that gap where Luke does the grappling hook across it, and then Leia like hugs him so tight that she's like inside his chest.
I didn't see that.
No?
No, you don't see that. You see some hangars, and you see definitely the same area where Obi-Wan turns down the shields.
Oh, spoiler. I want to ask you guys a question collectively. Like, so seeing all this stuff is great, and this is like the first time we've seen sort of like the classic Star Wars movies represented in whatever next gen, right? Like these consoles, they can only whip this stuff out once in a while before it starts to feel like, yeah, we've seen this recently. Do you guys think that the fact that they've kind of executed on this in such a middling average way means that, well, maybe this is the best we're going to get this generation, and that kind of sucks? Because hell, imagine like a really good recreation of this stuff this gen. They're not going to try to do it again immediately following this. Does it feel like a missed opportunity? Because I kind of feel that way.
With Star Wars specifically?
This game.
Yeah. Well, like tackling the classic movies, like showing these scenes that we all know and love and doing it in a way that is just not quite delivering that, like, wow, like it's all caveated by the things that make this game kind of a...
Sure. I mean, like, I reviewed this last year, and that was my thing. It was like the spectacle is there for sure, and it's there, especially if you're a Star Wars fan, you're kind of screaming over Hoth in a snowspeeder, but there wasn't much substance to the combat. In terms of like making use of the Star Wars license and whatnot, I don't think we've seen anything spectacular recently at all. I know like the Old Republic people gush about, but I mean, that's like, that's not like the classic Star Wars movies. I don't know, like the studio's working on stuff right now. You have people at EA that are working on it, like Amy Hennig's studio is working on that one. Kind of wondering what that's going to be like, but Battlefront has always been middling to me at best. I haven't been playing the DLC. I think that was the overarching question I wanted to ask you. Is any of it worth coming back for? Is it like lending more vitality to the game? Yeah,
like so that interior Death Star stuff with the actual infantry combat. Again, yeah, it's just a clusterfuck. Like, I don't even know where I'm going for the most part. Like, yeah, I see a R2-D2 icon rolling around, yet where enemies are attacking you from, you never gauge. Like, the spawning is a little poor, where I never gauge what is the layout of this map. But then, yeah, touching on like the Death Star mode, the trench run mode, that was actually pretty cool, despite the controls of these ships are awful, in my opinion. Like, just awful. I am so frustrated with how they handled it, and that you can't do actual 1-to-1 barrel rolls like you do. Really? Oh yeah, it's really dumb. It's like a pan. So like I can do a flip, and the next thing I know, I'm upside down, and then it's weird. And then the controls switch. It's like, okay, well, you got to straighten out, bud. So like your turning then equates to like spinning back around, but it ends up making you crash. However, the trench run was really interesting in that the rebels basically have to hit checkpoints in order to have the ultimate goal of doing the classic Luke Skywalker shooting photon torpedoes down the exhaust. But what was neat is and this is where my worry was that, okay, let's get real. The trench run, it's kind of a boring layout, right? It's just a trench run. What obstacles are there other than like a slight box?
It's like a boring Star Fox 64 level.
But what they did is they actually included, very reminiscent of the second Death Star in Return of the Jedi, some actual tunnels. And one area in the tunnel is straight up the exact representation of Return of the Jedi Death Star 2, where the Millennium Falcon loses its radar dish.
Yeah.
Where it's going through. So I'm a TIE Interceptor, and I'm chasing the Luke. So every so often you are picked to be as a rebel Luke Skywalker. You have to basically be the X-Wing, and everyone on the map shows you. So anyways, you get these really intense chases where you're going through these tunnels, just like in Return of the Jedi. And it's like the X-Wing goes in, and it's like 8 TIE fighters swarming in behind him and just crashing, because it's really tough to like get this chase down, and a lot of obstacles in the way. That was pretty neat. I think touching back what you said, Peter, I think they have been able to tap into that spectacle in an appropriate manner. Like, seeing that exact representation, it looks really great, of that one moment in the second Death Star was really neat. And I felt like I was really doing, you want to be in that movie, right? And I had that for a few seconds, but then the controls just go whack, and I can't have fun. That's the barrier, is like the flying is so poor that I just can't enjoy it.
Yeah, it just feels like those moments are stymied by just the kind of okay game beneath it, right? When these things kind of deserve something better, like more attention paid to the specific moment at hand, like to get that much more focus on it, beyond just putting you there, beyond just giving you a means to interact with it. Like, really figure out, okay, what made this special? Let's tailor everything to make that feel special for someone playing it, versus cramming it into another game.
It always felt very much like an ode to Star Wars rather than a good Star Wars game in itself.
Yeah.
So it's like a toy box for Star Wars fans almost, and that's why I appreciate it, and that's why I think it's decent. But I just every time I get in, I play a match, and then I'm just bored. I mean, I say like in the present tense, but I haven't played in 8 months or so.
Sure.
But I was curious whether this DLC was anything that like was building on the game's foundation, or whether it was just giving you more of what I thought was a middling game to begin with.
Yeah.
Anyway, cool. So. That is Star Wars Battlefront. The newest DLC is the Death Star. There's one coming out early next year. Rogue One Scarif. Do you know anything about that?
A little bit, yeah. That sounds pretty intriguing and perfectly lines up with Rogue One. So I'm not sure what planet Scarif is, but I do know is that the heroes for that are Ben Mendelsohn's character, the director Orson Krennic. Orson Krennic, and then you play Jyn Erso on the Rebel side. So that could be really neat. I mean, having the movie come out with that, it'd be cool to see what they do there. But again,
hopefully it's good.
Hopefully.
Who knows?
Cool. Yeah. Well, you will be streaming that right after the lobby today, won't you?
That is right.
Awesome. Yeah. So that is Star Wars Battlefront's newest DLC, the Death Star DLC. It's out now on PS4, Xbox One, and PC.
If you have the season pass. If you do not have the season pass, you have to wait 2 weeks, and then you can start getting in that.
Okay. Cool. Let us know if you're going to pick it up in the comments below. Anyway, I'm going to shift gears hard right now.
Don't tell me that was a Forza Horizon joke.
No, I wish, though. I would rearrange the running order. But no, we're going to talk about something Hideo Kojima was talking about. Yeah. Pete's boy. No, it was at Tokyo Game Show. He was talking to a few different, I think it was just a press conference panel.
Yeah.
And he had gone into some light details, as he is wont to do, about Death Stranding, the new Norman Reedus game that we've seen. Such a weird... The Norman Reedus game? Oh, Death Stranding. I thought you were just making fun of my phrasing. But it was a weird trailer that we first saw around E3 at the Sony press conference last year.
To say the least weird.
The least weird?
To say the very...
You missed a comma in there, I think.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
To say the very least,
it was... Quickly.
Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah. So I guess we wanted to go into the light details that he did mention, but also kind of just conjecture, speculate, maybe what we want out of it.
Conjecturate?
Yes. Specture. So the weirdest thing he said was it would be out before the 2020 Olympics in Tokyo.
But then he clarified saying, well, actually, I'll take that further. It'll be out before the year that Akira was set in.
Which is 2019.
Right.
Suggesting a 2018 release date.
Just say it. Why does he have to be
What if
so
it's
weird?
almost ready and he meant December of this year?
I don't think that's it.
I know.
Sure.
But that'd be crazy. So is this just Kojima being Kojima and kind of making
He's always
light
being
promises?
himself. I mean,
yeah, he's not many other people, but is he actually serious about this? Or here's the thing with the independent studio now, without Konami breathing down his neck, do you think he even cares when it releases now?
I think he cares. I mean, to some degree, his reputation is on the line here.
Yeah. So what do you think about the fact that? Do you think that he has more creative freedom, in this? He's heading up his own studio, but I don't know. I'm curious if that'll be a boon to him in the long run, or if that'll be too much freedom. Whereas
I think I know what you're getting at, right? Will he be so unhinged that it'll be indecipherable?
Yeah.
No, I don't think that. I mean, there's going to be some weird narrative stuff, and he's, he always tries to inject this sort of misdirection or keeps things really vague until the last moment. I think that's going to continue. I don't know. It's going to be more than it was with Metal Gear towards the end. Mm-hmm. And if you look at that series as a whole, he went to some pretty great lengths to make some pretty ridiculous stuff.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see the same level of strangeness. I don't know that he can. I'm sure anyone can go farther than they have before, but I can't even imagine how in this case.
There's also some hyperbole about being an online component that's unlike anything you've played before.
Right.
That just sounds more like Hideo Kojima.
It does. And it's okay, take it at face value. That would be great if he could somehow reinvent what online, multiplayer / co-op gaming is. But that's such a hard thing to conceive. How would you do that? And the way he describes it is okay, online games, people would fight it, traditional gaming, people would fight an NPC with weapons. Then people were fighting each other. Then they were fighting alongside one another. And he's kind of tiptoeing around co-op, but saying that people are going to be connected to one another somehow, but not in the same way.
By an umbilical cord, judging by the trailer.
Yeah, right? I don't know. It's weird. So what does that mean? in your world, when you walk this direction, it pulls me back, and so we're constantly struggling to move.
A literal connection?
Yeah, like that would be super fucking weird. Like I don't know if that
It's
would
like a platformer where you can't go too far off the screen without someone. Or Micro Machines, where if you did push them off the screen, they blew up. Did you ever play that?
No.
Oh, Micro Machines 1964 is a hidden gem, if you will.
Ooh.
Kojima also said that it may feature a female hero, protagonist, I think were his words. Were you the one saying maybe Norman Reedus isn't even the lead character?
Yeah, I think that'd be cool if he wasn't. I mean, like, I don't want Norman Reedus to be the thing that is the focus of the game.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have this weird thing where I identify actors as themselves, not really as the characters they play, unless they're really good actors. Mm-hmm. So if Norman Reedus was the star of this, I would just be staring at Norman Reedus the whole time, and I'd feel kind of strange about that.
As we all would.
Yeah. Well, his butt looks great. Let's be honest.
He was completely naked, except for the baby attached to him. That trailer was weird. Do you guys have any speculation as to what it might have meant? We talked about this back on the Lobby Stage show, but I don't know. I saw theories that those 5 things in the sky were like Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, but that doesn't.
The baby is Metal Gear Solid. He's losing it. It's still attached to him. He's crying. It's dead.
I think we should give anyone more credit than being that obvious with their references. Like, if we're able to guess that just by looking at it, like, I'm pretty sure that's probably like misdirection on his part. Let's be honest.
I guess so.
It can't be that obvious.
So, but the strands are connected to people, right?
Yeah.
Duh.
So there's multiple strands. My suspicion is like with those 4 or 5 figures, like being like gods creeping in. Are we connected to them, and then they're pulling us? Like maybe each strand is like a sin or like a problem you have.
We're all just puppets.
We're all bound puppets.
Bound by our penance.
He did focus a little bit on the idea of Death Stranding, but also Live Stranding, and like what it means in real life, right? Like dolphins will sometimes beach themselves. When they do so and they're alive in the process, that's Live Stranding, and the opposite is Death Stranding. How to read into that, I can't even begin to imagine. But
Death Stranding is when like a dead whale washes up on shore. Is that what you're saying?
that's almost what I'm saying.
Okay.
But I'm saying that there are 2 types of stranding.
There's a
and
lot.
And he made a point to differentiate between the 2.
Okay.
So I'm trying to imagine how that feeds into the actual like discussion of the game.
Maybe that's just in reference to, wasn't it Moby Dick Studios at first before the reveal of 5? Maybe he's still just chasing the whale and he's never going to catch it.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Don't put it by Kojima. He could be like literary like that. He likes the action movies, but he's no dolt. He knows what he's doing.
You love that word.
Yeah, ever since you said it to me. All right. Any other speculation about what's going on with this game? Female protagonist is always like, he doesn't have the best history with female characters. I mean, he has strong female characters, but I think maybe I'm letting the whole Quiet controversy before the game release kind of taint my opinion.
Quiet definitely like put a real shitty veneer over his history with women. Like it's not always been spectacular, but you look at some characters like Meryl, like she was pretty strong, she was pretty good. We'll see. It could be a female. That might just be his way of saying it could be male or female. You get to pick your gender.
I mean, didn't Norman Reedus have some C-section scars on his body?
Oh, hey, this guy.
Hi,
smart man. Yeah.
So maybe he's just going to use Norman Reedus as a female lead.
As a surrogate.
Okay, I see what you're thinking now. All right, we're all on the same page. Anyway, as for you, leave your craziest speculation in the comments below, and I kind of want to read those because I have no idea what's going on with this game. We're still talking about the Metal Gear universe, though, right now.
Oh, yeah. Well, now we are.
Yeah. Well, somewhat connected to Hideo Kojima. Metal Gear Survive. We all watched the 15-minute gameplay trailer. Pretty universally panned trailer. I think it was like last time I saw it was 14,000 dislikes, and then as opposed to a couple hundred likes. And I think like the immediate question is, does the Metal Gear name on it hurt it?
More than the Metal Gear name, I think it's piggybacking off of the engine and the game that was built for Metal Gear Solid 5. I think that's the problem. Metal Gear Rising or Vengeance, that was a game that had the Metal Gear name. It was very different, but a lot of people liked it. I think the problem with Survive is like, you take this game that had these great interactions, Metal Gear Solid 5 I'm talking about here, with NPCs that were pretty smart, and you had a lot of these moments that were really difficult to get over, and you had a lot of different ways of dealing with it. Now you're going up against slow-ass zombies who can't think for themselves, and you have someone else helping you along the way, like not just an AI co-op buddy, this time a real co-op. Like, do you really need 2 people to take down a zombie? That's when there's like 4 and like a huge landscape. Like it looks so boring and uninteresting. And add that to the fact that they're piggybacking off of a different game. That I think is the problem that people are. It's a problem I'm having. It does not look like an interesting game beyond the couple of weapons they showed in the trailer. But a couple of weapons doesn't make a whole lot of difference.
It looked like the mechanics of Metal Gear Solid 5 or Ground Zeroes thrown into, like you said, kind of this bland zombie game. It looked like they were just trying to take a base and then defend it, like World at War kind of, Black Ops zombie style, I guess.
I mean, what we're seeing here looks nice. The animations are cool. Like when action is happening, the effects are great. This is freaking boring. What are we looking at right here?
Yeah, they talked for a while. It was in Japanese, so I had no idea what they were talking about. I'd have to ask Justin or something, but that was the... Yeah, see,
look at this.
It's stealthing up on zombies.
Do you have to sneak up on a zombie that slowly?
No, just use a silenced handgun and you're fine, just so they don't...
Oh, no, there's one biting my leg. Good thing my friend is here to kill it.
With a spear and full Kevlar body armor.
Oh, those are the clubs that Kojima was talking about.
The clubs?
Oh, man. We don't. That was part of the Death Stranding thing.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Yeah, and then one guy's a machete, someone else had a bow and arrow. Now there's the spear you see there. I don't get what situation these Spec Ops soldiers found themselves in where these are the weapons they're using.
Oh,
just
Mike.
Survival.
Because Mother Base... Oh, you want to know how they got the weapons? Mm-hmm. I don't know. Well, they were transported to a different dimension.
Because this is the remains of Mother Base.
Yes, at the end of Ground Zeroes, a wormhole opened up and transported all the survivors to a different dimension.
How dare I not know that? I don't know. What is this? Do you think if this was just called like... What else? I don't know what else you could call it, but if it wasn't Metal Gear Survive, I agree. It would still look kind of boring, like a stealth game. It's like a sandbox stealth game, almost like a Splinter Cell with zombies, and that sounds like a very, very weird combination. It looks it, and I have to think that they're just.
I'm not seeing any reason why these zombies are a threat. They're just standing there like idiots.
They're minding their own business,
and I am so hell bent on not disturbing their business before I kill them. Apparently.
They had they show like environmental dangers, like you pushing zombies onto these like road spikes. They showed later on the zombies actually start charging the base, and see there's the Fulton recovery system still. I wonder if the sheep just becomes currency. Oh, it's attracting the zombies. I don't know. Ooh. I don't get Metal Gear Survive. It seems like I think it's universally disliked right now. Maybe universally it's too hyperbolic.
It's okay. At this stage, it appears to be a cheap cash-in using one of the most overused themes in gaming as of late, on top of a game that was kind of really cool in its own right.
With an iconic name attached to it,
yeah.
too.
So this is standalone?
Yeah.
This seems like a poor...
It's going to be $30 game.
Yeah, they said somewhere in the vicinity of Ground Zeroes, right, which was 30.
Okay.
I don't know. It's sometime next year. I wonder how long they've been working on it. But I don't even get the overarching... Again, the trailer I saw was... I don't know if... Was there an English version for the trailer? Because I was watching the Japanese version. I don't get the overarching kind of resource management. Maybe it's just like Metal Gear Solid where you're extracting animals for hunting and then just gathering intel and whatnot, which I don't know what good intel would do you in a zombie world, but who knows?
Zombies like brains.
It's so bizarre. Like... Metal Gear 5 had the ghosts. Who were the characters that were kind of almost like zombies? I thought they were going to play off that.
Yeah, I mean those guys were fast and strong. Those were serious threats. Like the moment you saw them, it was like you didn't feel like you had to run away because the game was like, here's a chase scene. That was your only freaking option, was to get the hell away from them. Here, what are we doing?
Now it's like a horde mode, and they're capitalizing on that as well.
It's not even a horde. I mean, I guess technically, but the odds seem so stacked in your favor. I haven't seen the zombies pose a single threat. I don't get it.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't look anything substantial, and maybe the price tag is kind of indicative of that.
Yeah.
But
it's funny to think also, like, not to rag on Metal Gear Solid 5, but like the distance already for enemy AI to see you is pretty generous, right? Mm-hmm. Like just to add in a dumber, you said it, Peter, just to add in like a dumber form of AI is just like, where's the stealth? I don't need this.
That was just like a scene from The Walking Dead. I think that's actually transposed from The Walking Dead when Rick is just kind of stabbing people through a chain link fence for about an episode's worth.
What is on their head?
The crystals.
Yeah, the crystals.
Right. I
can't tell if you actually... I'm at the point where that might actually be a thing in this universe. Because there's a guy with like full-on Hurt Locker armor, and then this zombie just drunkenly tripped over the window.
I want this game. I want every game to be good. This doesn't look like it has a chance.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
We'll see what happens with this.
We
I think that's
certainly will.
probably enough Metal Gear Survive. Tell us what you think, whether you're interested in it, what the hell is going on in this game, in the comments below. Anyway, going to move on to more zombies.
Sorry, spit across the table.
Resident Evil 7 Biohazard.
Yeah.
So there have been a few updates. Twilight is the new, it's not the new demo, but it updated the beginning hour demo with there's a little more to see in the mansion that we saw from the first original incarnation of the demo. And then at Gamescom, I played the Lantern demo. And Rob, you recently yesterday went to Capcom to see the Lantern demo. Last week, you went to see the Lantern demo with VR, PSVR, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. What do you think now that you've actually played it? Like, leaving aside the VR for now, what do you think of Resident Evil? As someone who I don't think is super into that series, right?
Sure, yeah. And this demo was very much different, right? You're playing along the lines of a cat and mouse, and you're being chased by one of those crazy Louisiana cannibal nut jobs.
Yep.
So
that's the stereotype we all know and love.
You're not taking any breathers in this demo. So I didn't get to have any of those like open world, or not open world, but like exploration elements of the other demos. But yeah, you're being chased the whole time, and very much a horror-esque vibe. I felt a lot of similarities, like Alien Isolation, or even like Outlast.
Sure.
It was pretty gripping. I was into it.
Don't say PT though.
I will not. It's nothing like it.
It's a sore spot.
So the premise is the Lantern, I guess you could say, is this woman of that family. I forget the name of them, but they're
the Bakers.
Bakers, that's right.
Yeah.
And so she is just chasing you through this mansion, and you're going under floorboards. You're going between walls. She's got a lantern that is what you need in order to pick her out from the dim lit mansion. And yeah, it was pretty insane. I was into it. And probably more so with the VR.
Mm-hmm.
I did play it again without it, but the VR element really had me going. I mean, I'm one to like fall for jump scares and
here we go.
And
we are watching
chases.
footage right now of
I wish we could just run his
Rob's
audio.
jump scare coming up. This might not be it, but
I think we have some audio later on. But yeah, there's one moment where I freaked out. I mean, just to be in a immersed horror element where you're just like being chased and you have to go behind boxes and peek around. That's where the VR element like shined.
Sure.
And more so than anything else, I feel like, was being able to, you're kind of circumventing a box, and I'm looking in between the cracks of the box, and it helped. It was even like a plus to have that, because I could see her easier as I moved, opposed to like looking. I could still look. You have that freedom to kind of peer around smaller areas of sight. And yeah, of course, there's nothing like looking back and seeing this woman. I'm going to find you, running at you. God,
that's the thing. This so obviously this is another flashback within the game. So this is not the main protagonist to be playing. This is like a VHS tape you come across. And the thing I found with this when I played it a couple months ago is that there weren't many jump scares. There's obviously the one you're talking about, and it does happen when you turn around and she's right there when you don't know it. Obviously, the lantern kind of gives her away, which that's the point. It makes it a little more ominous, but it was just like a slow build of tension and dread that really drove this forward, because at a certain point you could solve like old school Resident Evil puzzles, but she's still this constant threat, kind of like the Nemesis if you played Resident Evil 3.
Actually, in this demo, I mean, I'm not going to vouch for the game or anything like that, but in the demo, actually, the one puzzle that they showed, it felt like actually that was a breather. Now I think about it, it kind of paused. You find the puzzle as she's chasing you, but then you go back to where the puzzle is applied, and then the game kind of breaks, and it's like a quick,
I thought she was
puzzle.
still like free roaming while you're solving it.
Nah, there was definitely, because the first time I did it, I took forever actually. She definitely wasn't around, but yeah, those are kind of
Did she catch you?
Yeah, a couple times.
Oh,
a couple times where I'm like trying to open a locked door. It was very much a path. It was on rails of where I was supposed to be going, but it was a little bit of a trial and error. So there's one door that she came out of that I imagined to go into, didn't open, and she turned around. There you are.
Yeah, she's got the key, because that's like one of the doors you can let her walk through, so you can get behind her, kind of, from what I remember. But as someone who has not like Pete, I know you've played the series for a while and you're really familiar with the series. As someone who's not particularly familiar with it, how does this, like, are you optimistic about this game? Because obviously we haven't played much more than that. We did see the trailer where they're actually showing like gunplay now and actual a little more. There's like this like policeman zombie in a garage from what I remember. It was more of like a suburban setting that we saw there. So maybe that's part of the main game. I don't know if that's a flashback, but as someone who's not familiar with the series, does this kind of strike you as something that you'll want to jump into, or is this something that's kind of, I mean, without nostalgia in play, what do you think of it?
I thought it was really fun. I mean, it makes me want to play all these other demos because what I'm hoping this game is it's, you know, bits and pieces of what, you know, they've been showing in different levels. Like it'd be cool to, you know, change a corner and then have this ride for a period of time. Like I like that idea.
Which is what it sounds like, because you find those tapes, right, that sort of put everything in that context.
Yeah, structurally, it sounds like a cool storytelling mechanic. It's like the book Haunted by Chuck Palahniuk, or like, I mean, there are any number of frame stories where the main narrative like contains these shorter stories in between. So I think they were saying some of those VHS tapes you come across will actually be related to the main protagonist. Others will just be these tangential things that kind of flesh out the bakers, for instance, or the house you're in, or the cabin you're in, the part of the marsh you're in. But that's what is really kind of pushing this game home for me as of now. It's going to be out in January, but right now I'm pretty optimistic because I think Resident Evil does need kind of a shot in the veins, especially following 6 as the last numbered entry, and then you played Umbrella Corps recently, which they removed the Resident Evil name from, but it was still a Resident Evil game.
It's like Metal Gear Survive, but Resident Evil.
Exactly. That was the segue I should have used, but that was not a good game. That was like a fast-paced 3v3 tactical shooter.
Shit show.
Yeah, so this is, you know, they say they're trying to return to the horror roots with puzzles. The puzzle they showed in this one is very, I don't know, it was pretty, you'd have to be pretty oblique not to solve it. I don't know, it was pretty easy. But I don't know.
The demo felt like very much segmented. Again, it was just like, okay, puzzle time. Again, like I'm curious to know how these all mesh, because I think there was something there. There was something cool about, you know, you're underneath the floorboards and you find a note. You know, there are bits of like story that I'm definitely intrigued and I want to know more about. I just wonder how is that going to be delivered? Because that was the thing, is I wanted to explore, but you can't. Like, you're being chased. So as long as there are successful ways of transitioning between this area, like, I mean, I guess you could say, okay, maybe I'll go back and play this section again, but I don't know. Like, what I'm trying to say is, during these moments of where you're being chased, like I don't know how on earth they could like put these moments of like, okay, now you're able to like look around and read a note or something like that. I just found it was hard to explore. Again, like, I just wonder how they're going to mesh all this together, I guess.
Yeah, this was definitely more of a set piece, kind of a very scripted thing.
Yeah.
Because she was traveling along these certain paths, and then when she heard something, if you stood up and ran too fast, she would kind of chase you.
Right.
So I was, you know, like, makes you crouch the whole time. And then
Right.
you were saying you were kind of worried when you were under the floorboard, you were kind of hunching over. That was in the VR, though.
Right. That was very cool. Yeah, you know, just inherently, you just wanted to crouch, because there was a lot of moments of like claustrophobic vibes where it was like, oh God, this, you know, she's definitely above me. When is she gonna like come out and get me? It was cool. It was a fun little roller coaster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, like, that's what I'm saying, the big mystery remains, and I think we'll be seeing more of it in the coming months before January, because I think Capcom is pretty aware that people are worried they haven't seen much gunplay, so I think some people at Capcom are saying that's why they included it in the trailer recently.
People are worried about seeing the thing that they've said the series has too much of.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So they're saying, like, okay, now it's not a Resident Evil game, it's just going off PT, and that's a sore spot because Resident Evil 7 was already in development before PT was ever a thing. And then, you know, you have, like, people like Kawada saying, no, this isn't something we're, like, piggybacking off of, but, like, Outlast 2 does the same kind of horror as well. So it's almost becoming, like, this new trend in horror that's this first-person atmospheric, narrative-driven kind of, as opposed to the actual survival. But the new trailer in Resident Evil 7, that longer one that showed more like survival elements, and they're talking about there's going to be the green herbs that, you know, like for healing. There's going to be guns that you'll probably have to conserve ammo.
I mean, it really comes down to inventory management, right? That is the only aspect of survival that ever existed in Resident Evil, because you could find enough stuff, you just couldn't carry it all with you.
Yeah.
If they can get that down, if they can make the sense of discovery, like, think back to the original Resident Evil, right? Like, when you finally solved enough puzzles and you unlocked a new part of the mansion or new section outside the mansion, that made all of the tedium of going in circles in that one area worth it, because then you really appreciated this new place. And again, the fixed cameras gave you a very strong sense of tension and atmosphere. If it can just do those three things, I think this game will be a good Resident Evil game, despite everything else that it does. Like, I think those are the pillars that need to happen.
So do you think it'll be structurally set up kind of like a Metroid, where you're backtracking a lot and then to unlock these new areas?
I don't even want to say Metroid. I mean, no.
Well, obviously the more apt comparison is like Resident Evil 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. Yes, I do think that if they are consciously trying to, yes, do something new, but do it in the framework of a thing that people have told them that they love and they want more of. It would behoove them to go back and really break down what made those games successful and why, and impart that knowledge into the new formula, as it were.
It's going to be interesting to see, because you look at the pattern, it was like 1, 2, 3 were the third person fixed camera inventory management. Then 4, 5, 6 are much more third person action driven. You wonder if like 7, 8, 9, I don't know if like how long it's going to go, but you wonder if they're going to stick with this for a while until the next thing comes along, or whether Capcom knows what it's doing at this point or not.
There was a weird period of transition, I think, for gaming and especially international game development, where Japanese developers are trying to make games to suit the West, what they thought Westerners wanted, because our market is bigger and growing, where Japan is shrinking. And that's probably why we got a lot of those action games. I'm just guessing here. But it seems to be that was sort of the right time and place for them to do that sort of thing, or so they thought. I feel like those days are done. Like, I feel like now they're almost starting from scratch, and looking to the past won't really inform us about where they're going. I think this game is really setting the future for the series, like the tone for it, and who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I hope it's great. Like, everything so far seems really promising. I haven't seen anything apart from a few like technical things related to VR, like crouching. I was told there's not really a transition; you just kind of like hard cut. That's really bad.
Nauseating.
Oh yeah, that's immediately a problem. If they can fix that stuff, cool. But this game seems like it'll be good outside of VR anyway. Like, that's just sort of the icing on the cake, as long as it doesn't get rancid.
And that's the challenge, though, because like producer Kawada was saying at Gamescom that it's an obvious quote, like you're never going to please 100% of the people. But in this case specifically, you have those people that have been around since Resident Evil 1, 2, 3. I don't like the ones that people usually came on for were the early
people who are ready
1 and
to
2.
walk away from the series.
There are people that are more excited for Resident Evil 2 remake because that's not even a sure thing, because that's an entirely like remade game, whereas like remake, the GameCube game was already made by a team that worked on the original. But then you have the camp that was introduced with 4, which is an iconic like third-person action game. How do you kind of merge those two camps with 7? Do you have to? And how do you actually bring them into the present? And I know that the team is very cognizant of the fact that they're not going to do that completely. And I hope that they just don't worry about that much. And like definitely like convey the Resident Evil vibes that I'm looking for. Like you said, the inventory management, like that kind of getting a sense of space and ownership over this mansion or whatever you're going to be in, and then like the structure of it already. I guess like the bigger picture of things has yet to be seen. Hopefully we'll see more before January, but I don't know, like I'm optimistic about it, but I don't know, you said like the VR definitely exacerbated the tension of everything.
Yeah, and just hearing you guys talk makes me wonder, like, what does this like cat and mouse type of element, like how does it actually like transfer into the rest of the game? Like, how can you hit up your inventory when you're constantly being chased?
Well, that's just it, right? It could be part of the whole cassette structure, where this is just literally a slice, which I kind of hope. What an excellent opportunity to experiment with all sorts of different types of horror.
Yeah,
sure.
Right? They could just run the gamut of, these great sort of horror paradigms over the last few decades from film within this game, and like that, and gaming as well. And so I think that's how that's probably going to exist.
I mean, they're literally cassette tapes drawing the comparison to VHS, the movies. That I think there's 3, the found footage, and that's like those short stories contained on the tapes are these like not throwaway. Those are these like kind of ancillary segments that don't relate to the main game, maybe narratively, but mechanically they could be completely different, which would be awesome, because then you get this little like bite-sized kind of breath of fresh air from like maybe the overarching kind of system you've figured out. And that's like what intrigues me most. And I hope they like really go for that structure.
What if some of them are like super lighthearted tapes where you're just like participating in like something before the chaos and the horror?
Maybe like like the Bakers before they became like the psychos that they showed in the trailer.
Pretty interesting.
Or maybe there's like one where like they just finished eating your legs and you are crawling the whole way out of the building.
That'd be great. That it was just a 12-second segment of you trying to get out of the house.
Screaming. Oh, my
perfect.
legs.
You still don't know what that finger does in the beginning of our demo, the Twilight demo. You could put it on that hand, the mannequin figure, but like they keep saying there's a purpose of it, but it's probably just
picking
for
your
the-
nose.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Or that, or like kind of like plugging a hole in a wall. There's an axe as well. I think they include the axe just to hint that there's going to be weapons, but that's the most subtle hint ever, because this is the first demo they ever released for the game, and I think it still is sitting like at the highest, most downloaded PS4 demo ever. It was at like 3 million last time we checked. It hit 2 million back in June. But yeah, I don't know. I'm very intrigued and excited about the game as a Resident Evil fan and as just someone who likes horror games in general. And on Outlast 2 being pushed back to what I believe is going to be after this now, that's kind of making the way for Outlast 2 a little easier, I'd say. Anyway, Cool. Let us know what you think about Resident Evil 7 Biohazard in the comments below. It'll be out in January 24th, I believe, for PS4, Xbox One, and PC. And now, Rob, unfortunately, we have to bid you farewell.
Not a problem.
Adieu.
Adieu.
Bye-bye.
And now we're going to get Eric Tay on. But,
Is he still alive?
Eric Tay is probably going to be very tired. He's been streaming Destiny's newest expansion, Rise of Iron, since 2 a.m.
You got to throw like rapid fire questions at him. Like, don't even let him finish his answer. Just interject with a new question right away.
Yeah. He's supposed to be coming in. Hopefully he's
might
here
be dead.
somewhere.
He might be dead.
When he like left the stream room earlier, he kind of just he just had the most dejected look on his face.
He looked like a zombie from Metal Gear Survive.
Yeah, and then he just I don't know. He had this bottle of weird looking liquid on his desk. I'm just kidding.
Was it a drink or was it?
I think it was
else?
a drink. No, just kidding. Yeah, so he'll rotate in soon.
Yeah.
What do you have going on this weekend?
This weekend, huh? Man, I'm still plugging away at Dragon Quest VII. It's a very long game, and God, it's like probably 100 hours, and I'm 60 some odd hours in right now. And it's a lot of the same stuff, kind of over and over, like the same like sort of fetch quests and talking to townies. It's charming. It's a classic Japanese RPG, but it's wearing me a little bit thin. Other than that, I might play a bunch of Forza Horizon 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I played a little bit of it earlier. We're going to talk about it later. Mm-hmm. That game's pretty fun.
Yeah, for sure. Bring Eric Tay on when he gets on. But yeah, Forza Horizon 3. Here's Eric right now.
Oh.
I'm not going to go there. That's fine.
How's it going, Eric Tay? What's up? How are you feeling?
I'm feeling kind of all over the place, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't know. Good. Highs, lows, mids, something.
We'll give you a breather first because we're going to talk about Forza Horizon right now, and then we're going to get into For Honor and Destiny.
Sick.
Rise of Iron. We'll let you just sit here and kind of recover from
I'll drink my tea quietly.
tea. You don't.
Well, I
Are you not a
slurp
coffee
it.
drinker? Oh man,
Oh, Mike loves that.
I love the noise of slurping. It really gets to me. Anyway, okay.
I really apologize to everyone listening to the stream. You can hate me. It's okay.
We're talking Forza Horizon 3, like an open world racing game that Pete and I tried out a little bit. We did not like review it or anything. That'll be Miguel Concepcion for a freelancer for GameSpot.
Yes.
The embargo is up.
The embargo's up.
Yeah.
The review is out. It got a 9, and a lot of places are giving it a 9, 9.5. I've seen a lot of hundreds out there.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good game.
Dang. Oh, you're serious?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Or I know it was a good game. I didn't know it was getting like 10s and whatnot.
Well, you know.
Yeah.
Some sites love to give 10s.
Some sites.
It is a game that is beautiful. It's very forgiving. It's sort of like arcade type driving. Like you can pretty much pick up any car and drive and be pretty successful. You can run into trees, no problem. You can hit other cars, no problem, no problem. I mean, you're free to do whatever you want. And it's really just sort of about exploring the Australian Pacific coast. So there's a pretty good variety. Like I only played for, 45 minutes, which was a great taste. Like I really want to play the game. And I saw like a lot of good stuff. I saw, like I said, beaches. I ran through the forest. I was on what looked like a golf course. And I shouldn't have been. I was in like a Lamborghini, but I was doing all this great fun stuff. And it, it reminded me of some of the time I spent playing The Crew back in the day. And that game, it sort of had a lot of the same stuff. It allowed you to drive, explore a lot of different locations too, where this is focused on one part of a continent. The Crew is like all of America. There's something about Forza Horizon that just immediately feels that much more gratifying.
Yeah.
I think it's that the driving is so much better. Mm-hmm. And the landscapes are just crafted in a much more interesting way.
Yeah, imagine that they actually like focus on the driving in a driving game, and it feels good. I ended up kind of like doing the donuts while I'm driving, and then reversing, and then going in the same direction.
Yeah,
got it down pat a little bit. I saw you when I came back I walked by your desk, and you were just going off this rock ramp into the beach.
Just jumped off a cliff into the ocean,
clearly ignoring like the events and objectives, which is the cool part of this game. Like that's why I wanted to play it, and I don't necessarily like racing games, or at least I don't gravitate toward them. And that's why I wanted something I could shut off and maybe just play every once in a while, just for the joy of driving and seeing this like what is a gorgeous world. This like what is it, southeastern Australian? I'm actually not sure which part of.
I think it's mostly the Pacific coast. I don't know that it's just southeast, but yeah, it just makes the bare act of driving the focus and really fun. There is sort of this overarching thing where you're supposed to be participating in car festivals, sort of like a music festival, and you are using these festivals as a means to like build your brand and perform PR stunts. I guess they got to find an excuse for a narrative in this game. It doesn't really need one, but
There were some questionable characters early on in like the intro with like these bro voices.
Yeah.
And, I know you could pick from like a set number of nicknames. I forgot what my character's name was, like Natasha or something. I have no idea, but I wasn't particularly interested in the people. I was just more interested in the cars and driving them.
Yeah.
But then you can like create your own events, right? And then that's where like the multiplayer comes into play. Other people can participate in them.
You can make like challenges and upload them, I believe.
Because
I haven't played that much, unfortunately.
But you run across these avatars that are just like, they take, I think, names from your friends list, or at least they just take random people's names and make them like your drive-avatars that you can challenge.
Yeah,
so just driving on the road.
And this is the third year the drive-atar system has been in place, and I think it translates across games. Maybe it's just a Horizon thing. I don't know if it's a Forza Motorsport proper thing as well. But yeah, like these sort of, they're learned behaviors from the way that other people have driven. And then, yeah, it's not like you're driving with that person in this mode. Like I was playing offline and I still had drive-atars on there. No, it wasn't offline. Anyway, I'm rambling now.
And you're building up a garage the whole time, obviously.
Sure.
It's kind of, did you have like an N7 car from like Mass Effect? Is there a DLC that came along with it or something?
Yeah, that was just there when I booted it up. I mean, but I'm driving past all these cars where it's like, that's an MR2, that's a Jaguar. Like, it makes me want to figure out how to get those cars and drive them. It is, like, I hate that idea, like car passion. I guess that's a thing.
Yeah.
We all have it inside of us.
I think it's car
We just need
porn,
something
right?
to rip our chests open and eke it out. And
Yeah.
Forza Horizon may do that.
Miguel, our freelance reviewer, was saying it's kind of like, well, these are my words, not his. Like it's almost like that Call of Duty thing. I find myself playing Call of Duty multiplayer just because of how constantly I'm unlocking something, or how constantly the experience is translating into tangible rewards, whether they're aesthetic or actually affecting the mechanics.
Yeah.
But he was saying that's pretty constant here. It's like a flurry of just like, oh, you gained this many followers, you just unlocked this car, you got this new. You actually like hire artists for the festival venue.
You get points for driving like an asshole.
Yeah, you like near misses.
Collisions, damage point. Like you just anything you do, basically, you're going to earn points. Which there's some question there. Like, okay, does it actually make it a valuable experience? When you add it on top of the great driving, yeah, why not? It is just sort of that extra layer that makes it a little bit more enticing.
Did you get the chance to go much like off road on the beaches and like
yes,
the actual?
But in a Lamborghini.
I was gonna say like when you were supposed to be off road.
No,
like a buggy as opposed to a Beamer.
No. That's what I'm looking forward to do this weekend. Honestly, Miguel sold the game so well, and even playing it just a little bit made me realize like, yeah, this is going to be a great experience if I stick with it. We'll see.
Yeah, in terms of negatives, there's just Miguel was saying like minor performance issues online, which I guess like every game's gonna suffer that. It clearly wasn't enough to like hinder his experience, and then he didn't like the brand narrative either.
I don't blame him.
Yeah, kind of social media, the millennial generation. I can't stand millennials. They're the worst.
You're a millennial.
Yeah,
you're a millennial.
I know. you guys are too, aren't you?
I don't know.
Borderline. Anyway, Forza Horizon 3 got a 9 on GameSpot, so check out that review by Miguel Concepcion on our website. All right. Before we get to Rise of Iron, I know that's what you're dying to talk about, Tay. But no, we can talk about something that you have played pretty extensively recently, at least somewhat. For Honor finally had closed alpha.
Yep.
We've been hearing about this. People have been like searching for it a lot and asking about it a lot, but we finally got to play it. Mm-hmm. Did it line up with your expectations? What did you expect it to be, and did it line up with your expectations?
I feel like I was a little surprised by it. I've been wanting to play it, like you said. There's been interest, at least for me, to want to play it. And it kind of shocked me at first. It was a little bit, I guess, more defensive in a way than I thought it would be. I'm sure you can be offensive, but there's definitely more mechanics going on than I thought there would be.
Yeah.
Definitely with blocking left, blocking right, blocking high, and then kind of like countering, or like countering a grab or countering a guard break. So there's a lot of like, I don't want to just say it's rock, paper, scissors necessarily, but there's a lot of kind of that kind of going on, and I didn't necessarily expect that. And so I was kind of explaining or describing it when we were doing our live stream that it was kind of frustrating at first because all I want to do is kind of, go at them, but I hate bringing up Dark Souls, but it's like you kind of learn by playing the game, like, oh, I can't play this way. I better learn how to play the mechanics of the game and kind of master those. I haven't mastered those yet necessarily, but I could see how if you can make the right reads, and there's probably like a pretty decent meta game going on, like that can be really fun. It's just, do you want to put the time in to kind of learn those like kind of subtle nuances, learn the move sets of the 4 classes for each faction and kind of how they flow, how they fight. So you know how like you can kind of see where they're gonna attack from, but it's not always necessarily the case. So it's like timing your parries and all that stuff. So I think that's pretty cool to me. It's just I don't know if I'm gonna spend the time to kind of get really good at it unless like I play more in the office and then people start whooping me in the office, then I'll kind of get triggered.
Yeah,
you know?
I totally agree with you. I think the people that take the time to master defending and like, you know, you see this thing pop up, it's like this trifecta. You can go block, right, left, up, and then different character classes. So there's like 3 races and then each one has 2 variants of fighters. I was playing the like the samurai ones a lot, the heavy and the light. And after a while you start to see the stance that the other players are in. That's how you know whether if they have like it raised over their head, you're like, okay, I'll attack the right or left. If the knight has it like kind of to his left, I'll just attack overhead. I feel like that plays into it, but I felt like I definitely played better when I was a little more patient, if possible. I did try button mashing, and you could tell the people that were button mashing were also kind of just ignoring how I think Ubisoft wants the game to be played.
Yeah.
So I think over time, I'm worried it might lose players that aren't really committed to like learning it, because it definitely has a very strong learning curve. I think I just assumed it'd be a third-person action game. When you're in the middle of these hordes of like minions and ads, it's like a Dynasty Warriors game. You're just plowing through them, right? Mm-hmm. But when you're actually fighting the heroes, the other players, that's when it becomes like what we thought For Honor would be. And then like speaking of Dominion mode right here with this, so there's 3 capture points, A, B, C. A and C are just normal capture points that you get for points to like add up to I think 1,000, and then you get the chance to kill the other heroes and win. But the B is like this tiered zone where you help your creeps push forward into the enemy territory. You take it, and then anytime you want to capture, you have to actually have your creeps advance. So that's where like almost MOBA-esque.
Yeah, and I mean, the other interesting thing too is in these 4v4 skirmishes, it's also how good are you kind of communicating with your teammates, because you might 2v1 someone. Sure. And it's actually really tough, at least when we were playing, or because I've only played a couple hours, but to really stave off 2 people at one time. Mm-hmm. You can kind of generally direct or block in one direction, and that sometimes will get them both. But if they kind of pinch you, it's pretty hard to kind of defend both points. So you kind of got to, maneuver around your territories. Also, maybe just run for help sometimes. You got to watch your stamina, obviously. So that plays another factor, I think. It's like, 3-on-1, I'm screwed.
Yeah. No, it's definitely about placement as much as anything, like more than just the fighting, because flanking is a huge deal. If you don't even see someone coming up behind you, they just do like an overhead, like heavy attack, and you're done. I don't know. Like the more I played it, the more impatient I got. But maybe that's just because I wasn't giving it the chance to actually kind of teach me. Because there was a tutorial at the beginning, but there's a lot of things that like I didn't really completely grasp. Like there's a guard break, which of course works if they're guarding, but if they're not guarding, it doesn't do anything. Yet it kind of leaves you like there's not much you could do against it if they use it. So
there's a counter to the counter break.
How do you counter that? Actually,
it's like you hit X.
Oh really?
I think it's like X or A. I forgot which. I forget which tutorial I'm watching, PS4 or Xbox One, but there is a way, if you can see that they're going to do the guard break because the little shield icon thing kind of pops up, you can kind of quickly hit that button and stop it. But it's like a reflex thing. It's like,
Sure, and then there's also like baiting people, kind of like going to your left stance so they think you're going to attack on the left, and then just switching to the right really quick and attacking there. It's almost kind of like the threat of what you're about to do can be more dangerous than what you actually do. Obviously, the threat isn't what's going to throw an axe into your head, but you get what I mean in the essence that it's a mind game after a while. Mm-hmm. Like you said, I don't like when you get outnumbered, but I think that's the point. They don't like that's like the ganking, I guess.
Well, there's that revenge mechanic too, which is supposed to kind of help you deal with 2 people. I saw people employ it well and kind of kill 2 people at the same time. If you're not using it properly or don't really understand how to use it properly, you could also just easily die. So I'm actually interested. I didn't get enough time to watch other streamers, but I want to see what really good players look like and what that kind of gameplay looks like, and then see if I'm kind of motivated by that and like, oh wow, okay, there's all the mechanics coming to life the way that they see it, and I could maybe play like that too. But when you're kind of going in, even though there are really good tutorials, it's just kind of hard to see some of that stuff because of who you're fighting and whatnot.
Yeah, definitely. And it feels like it's almost odd that. I don't want to, not disparaging Ubisoft. I like a lot of their games, but it seems like, like when you think Ubisoft, you think Assassin's Creed, and you think of like Tom Clancy games, and you think of things that are going to be safe somewhat. But then you have like Rainbow Six Siege that came out, which is just like very tactical, like high skill ceiling multiplayer. Now you have For Honor that's coming out. That's kind of the same thing. It's like player versus player focused, very high, like, easy to learn, difficult to master kind of thing. And I don't know that it's not like a trend coming out of the entire publisher, but it's still, now that we know more what it's like, it's intrigued me, but I just don't know that I can really mount that skill ceiling and kind of like get over the first few hurdles to actually really enjoy the game and like it for what it is. We've only played a brief amount of it. Of course, it released in February.
Yeah, I mean, sorry to cut you off there, but I'm also kind of curious about what that campaign looks like. We saw kind of a brief little snippet at E3. Is it kind of one of those that's shorter but gives you like a kind of like a story kind of thing for the factions, or is it kind of more in depth? We don't know yet, obviously. So I'm interested in that. Maybe the campaign kind of spurs you on to play multiplayer. Hard to say.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it released in February, I believe.
Yes,
yeah.
I think so.
Because it got pushed back. It was originally earlier, but I guess every game was pushed back now.
But you know what? You could play Bushido Blade right now.
Is that a comparison you've been making?
Yeah. Bushido Blade 1 and 2, PlayStation fighting games, where it was like one-on-one sword duels, and there was no health bar. Mm-hmm. If someone's sword hit your arm, you lost your arm. You just had that one other arm to fight with. If someone cut your leg, you died. And it was this great dueling thing because it just captured the reality of like what these impacts could do, and it would just restart a fight like that. So you could like have these sort of like rapid like duels like that really do like teach you like you got to learn what you're doing or you're gonna die. Captures a lot of what I think this is going for, but without all the clutter of modern gaming demands that things must have if it comes from Ubisoft. It has to be this big, like Bushido Blade is a pure dueling game, and that's out. You can play that right now.
Yeah, because you could just do one-on-one in For Honor. You could do 2v2. Then the minion mode's the one with the creeps and everything. I think that's one I had the most fun with, only because I wasn't completely married to the mechanics of the game. Even though I think the mechanics do feel good, I just don't think I gave it the chance, I gave myself the chance to really like learn and respect it, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. So now I'm intrigued by the game for sure. That releases in February of 2017 on PS4, Xbox One, PC. And yeah, check it out in the future. We'll have more coverage on GameSpot.
I'm sure there will be a closed beta, so
yeah,
we'll see how those change.
For sure. All right, it's time to talk about the game that you've been playing for 10 hours. Or no, sorry. 10 hours. Right. You played 10 hours today of Destiny Rise of Iron's newest expansion. I don't know.
But we need to be clear. This is the second time he's played this stuff because you already played it at an event like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, so I went to Bungie. Was lucky enough to be sent there to kind of, it's like a review event almost because you were out of town. So we wanted to get some coverage out of it, features or video. But that felt rushed. I felt like I got through the story, which fortunately isn't too long. I actually liked the story. I think it was a cool kind of concept. It just didn't last that long. It's probably about a 90-minute, maybe 90-minute, maybe 2-hour type ordeal. And then a lot of what the Rise of Iron comes after that. So, you explore the Plague Lands, you do Archon's Forge, which is like a new kind of Court of Orcs, Prison of Elders hybrid that's kind of faster.
You go to like 9 players public event in the patrol area.
And then the raid, obviously Friday, we have no idea. I didn't get to touch the raid at all. So at that event, it was a little bit rushed. They're trying to do different things, capture different things, just didn't have enough time. Kind of going through it more today. I'd say it's okay. I think, like I said, the story is pretty good, but short. I think the rest of the stuff is kind of the same old a little bit, just in a different world. I do like some of the lore that's coming out of some of these quests. I like some of the quality of life stuff they've added. So it's like they have a book that you can, go through. If you finish it, you're getting tangible rewards, which helps kind of a casual player who's playing, maybe by themselves or with one friend who can actually do that, maybe not be able to do the raid. They still have something to do, right? I think those are all good things. Really for me now at this point, it's just about the raids because the strikes are kind of just remastered versions of old ones that with twists, and there's like one new strike that's okay. I mean, you've played some of it too now, and you're looking into doing a review in progress, I believe. What are some of your thoughts?
Yeah, it strikes me more as DLC than actual expansion, like Taken King was. It's not revamping the foundation of the game. It's not actually like changing what I think about Destiny. I do like that they're kind of going for this almost like high fantasy Game of Thrones-esque kind of thing, which they've said. Like I remember them saying like that the way they're telling the story and trying to like, this is how they like justify like how shallow the story was before. They're saying we just wanted to introduce details which we were planning on going into depth with later, which is like, you know, like you learn all these characters in Game of Thrones and whatever, and then you learn about them like in an entire episode later on in the next season. But it was like 90-minute campaign, I believe. I might have gotten through it faster, and it's just going into Lord Saladin, who usually shows up for the Iron Banner events. It's detailing kind of what's called Siva, this like nano robot plague, and it's kind of got like hints of like an allegory for like a nuke. It was this weapon it was this thing that people could have used to like create anything. It was like renewable energy, but then of course like the Fallen and like old Fallen sects started using it for ill. And now you're kind of fighting it back again. I won't go into spoilers what happens, but it just kind of feels like the story rushes by, and I never really got the impact of what was going on, which is always like a thing with Destiny. There was context for what I was doing, and I knew why I was doing it, but I never felt like I was enjoying like the story pushing me along. It just felt like I was doing it for the sake of getting through the missions and getting that reward at the end.
Yeah, I mean, there aren't that many missions. I mean, one in particular is really good, but it'd be going into spoiler territories. I kind of wish they used that to kind of mold the rest of the stuff, but you know, it's hard. When I went up there, they did say that, you know, they started production of Rise of Iron like end of January, you know, so it hasn't been that long, and they've kind of got a lot of stuff out there, even if you want to say it's a reskin and stuff like that. I haven't gone through enough of the quest stuff yet too, because there's 4 exotic weapon quests. I've done 2 today. They're pretty extensive. If you want to get your year 3 Gallarhorn back again, which is a thing, it took me probably as long as the story. Like that's how long it felt like it took me. So, you know, there are people that are fixated on some of those past experiences, you know, of Gallarhorn and the fun they had with that, and they're gonna do that, right? That's a good another hour and a half, and then like the Kvostov, excuse me, the first gun you ever get in the game, they have an exotic version of that, almost like fan service, because everyone's always been asking for the Kvostov, and the mission for that's pretty like not bad. It's pretty good, and there's a nice little nugget of lore at the end that's kind of cool, but. Sometimes those moments feel few and far between. Like you can feel it sometimes, like, oh, this is really cool, and then sometimes you're just like, oh yeah, okay, I'm just kind of like plodding along and doing things.
You did kind of touch on it, but I think I've played at this point about 5 to 6 hours since this morning, and I think of that time I've spent maybe 45 minutes in new areas, you know, excluding the social area, but it's just one of the first missions you do, you're retreading the ground that you started the game in back in 2013, 2014, like the very beginning of the game. And
outdoor area.
The what?
The little outdoor area?
Yeah, before you cross the wall and into the wall. But yeah, it's not like the new strike, the Archon Priest is kind of a little novel, like this ogre is chasing you around. You can't hurt him. He's pretty much just this nuisance that you're kind of trying to avoid while you shoot the priest, who's also obviously very capable of defending himself. The other strike is Sepix Perfected. Yeah. Sepix Prime, who we fought I don't even know how many times by this point. Again, it seems like
twist.
It's retreading a lot of what we already seen. I do like the aesthetic of the new stuff, though, that fantasy, kind of climbing the mountain to Fellwinter's Peak, the new social area. I haven't done a lot of Archon's Forge. I've done one, and again, you said those are like when you offer things up to like Siva or to the gods or whatever.
Yeah, it's pretty quick paced, fast action. That's kind of what they want. Yeah. It's like a mini horde mode, a little bit more frantic than that at times, because you know there's explosive shanks and whatnot. And as the tiers get higher, it does get harder. Of course, that's because you know level difference and stuff like that. If you're not of level, it's obviously going to be harder. I was doing heroic strikes. I think they're like 350 at like 347, and some people were even lower than that, and people were just getting gibbed and dying really fast. It's kind of frustrating, actually. But yeah, to be honest, like for me, the story and everything's great. I like it, but ultimately, I think for me as a min-max hardcore player, the raid is really what's going to tell me how much I like about Rise of Iron. It's kind of been the case for a lot of the previous DLC expansions, and we'll have to see. That doesn't come out till Friday.
Yeah.
Hopefully we get to check it out. Hopefully you get to check it out.
Yeah.
Because it is a big part of like these DLCs and expansions. I feel like it's like probably a good third of it. There's like probably a whole separate team just making the raid.
I think it's also like Bungie's best chance to show off their level design and their mission design and everything, because those are the most nuanced. Like, how do we kill this boss? And then you beat him, and it's like such a big deal. And then you get to the next mini boss, and obviously the final boss is pretty like usually a very intense battle and everything. Yeah. Again, after what I've played, we're gonna have a review in progress up soon. we're gonna wait until obviously the raid goes up because that's the make or break thing for me on Friday. But until then, I'm sure we'll all be working on getting our light up so we have a decent raid team going in, hopefully.
And I mean, like on a side note, because this is something that normally affects reviews, and Peter, you know best of all, is we both luckily escaped Q hell, as I would like to call it, because when I was streaming, there was I think Xbox One was struggling. I think they almost like had PS4 servers up first or something, or priority. This is just hearsay. Sorry.
Sounds
this
like
is my
inside
opinion.
info to me.
It's not inside info. It's just observations. And it seemed like more people were struggling on trying to hop on Xbox One, as well as PS4. And I can't remember to this date that they even had queues. And it just reminds me of a World of Warcraft thing where it could totally like alter your experience, because I was pretty much just apologizing to people in the stream. I'm like, I'm really sorry. I don't have any privileges or anything to stream. I just got lucky. I spammed, got in. That's kind of how servers like for these kind of games work. Once you're in, you just don't leave because you're screwed if you leave. And people were like, I'm 30,000 in queue, which is kind of insane if you think about it. Like, that's a lot of people that are trying to play the game. Like,
I got lucky. I didn't have any problems getting in. I got booted off World a few times.
Yeah,
in
I
those
as well.
streams, but never disconnected from the Destiny server. So luckily, I've not had any performance issue. Well, I've had a few, but nothing game breaking major.
Yeah.
Played a fair amount of PvP, a couple hours today,
nice.
Between Supremacy and what was the other mode?
Supremacy is the new one.
Supremacy is a new one that's like kill confirm from Call of Duty.
Yeah.
You have to pick up people's tags and to actually get the kill to count or get to extra point and everything. I've been playing Rumble and everything. And then the one alluring aspect, at least as far as progression goes, is the Book of Iron or Record Book of Iron or something. And that's where you're actually doing these Rise of Iron quests. You're kind of unlocking these tiers that are giving you the cool looking armor that like we've been seeing on the cover for how long now.
Yeah, it's also one of those sweet like, oh yeah, these are not achievements or chivos, but they're things that you see and you're like, oh, okay, I'm 9 out of 90% done. I'm gonna finish that. Boom, work on the next. I think it's just innate sense, at least for me, when I see something like, oh, I gotta finish that, or if I can finish that.
It's called OCD, Eric.
He's got his chores to do.
Oh God, I got chores.
Obsessive chore disorder.
Yeah, that's pretty true.
So anyway, that is Destiny's Rise of Iron expansion, presumably the last major one for Destiny that they've kind of been hinting at for a while.
Yeah, they're going to fill it out with events and stuff like that. And I think the big thing that everyone wants that has kind of been talked about but hasn't been like really confirmed is everyone just wants to go back and do the raids.
Sure.
Have them bring it up or something that would allow us to go back and do the raids, because everyone loves Vault of Glass. It was like the first one. It's probably most people's number one raid, and I could see them doing that because you got a big gap between now and next September. You can't just fill those with Halloween and winter events. So wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah. Anyway, so there's Rise of Iron, and in the meantime, I'll be getting my light level up, kind of working on the review in progress, which will go up soon, and then, like we said, the raid will be up Friday. Following that, we'll put up our full review. And that, unfortunately, is all the time we have today.
Oh, man.
Thank goodness.
Tay, I know what you'll be doing for a while. Hopefully you get a break.
Sleeping, right?
Yeah. That's what we would all suggest, but I know it's not what you're going to do.
I'm going to try. My leg was, we were at the lunch table earlier. I think my leg was involuntarily just shaking. I was like, Justin, you see that? My leg's kind of shaking. He's like, no, it's not. I'm like, I feel the muscles spasming, man.
All right. We will let you get back. Peter, I know you said you're going to play some Forza this weekend and everything.
Yeah.
More Dragon Quest 7.
Yeah.
Long game. You got to play through for that.
Yeah. It's just getting good, I think. So we'll say.
Yeah.
It unlocks stuff super late, so I'm still unlocking stuff.
All right. Well, everybody, thanks so much for joining us. Thanks to Jean-Luc Seipke in the back. Eric Tay is here at the table, but he's usually back there as well. Mary Kish is back from Tokyo, but she is not in the office today. Richard Lee on the camera, as always. Until next time, have a good week. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-da, ba-da-ba-da, ba-da-ba-da-ba-da.